Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is April 10th, and today's episode is going to talk about some changes to the oDAO. We're going to be talking about Langer's changing Langer's opinion on how we should handle Saturn 1 and MaxEB. We're going to be talking about the Ronin bridge and quick decisions needed, and we're going to be talking about a whole lot more. So let's get started.
10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Okay, so the big news of the day is this announcement that Langer's put out yesterday in the evening US time, and this is to say that the oDAO is changing. So Langer says, following on from the successful oDAO inflation vote, he says the team will raise oDAO leave proposals for 2 of their oDAO seats today, and the team will retain 2 oDAO seats. This is the proposal followed the usual oDAO delay of 1 week, after which the oDAO will vote, and finally the team will perform the leave. And to ensure continuation of the oDAO services, we will stagger our leave executions to ensure consensus. So as Gitcoin have also volunteered to leave for their own logistical reasons, as well as supporting the seat reduction. They've been excellent oDAO operator, and we would like to thank them for their effort. We would liaise with their technical contact to leave in the next couple of weeks. So he says the oDAO will continue servicing the protocol with 13 members, which matches the PDAO target. So if you have any questions or concerns, let me know. So this is actually really interesting because, like Langer says, that the PDAO was targeting for there to be 13 members of the oDAO. And in the past, I think it was up to 19 members that we had. Some, of course, have left in that time. And now it looks like the team is reducing 2 of their seats from 4 down to 2. And Gitcoin also will be leaving. So, yeah, this will go to an internal vote with the oDAO. And they will vote to remove the members. Here you can see that the votes are pending. So there's proposal 18 and proposal 19. Proposal 18 will remove oDAO seat Rocket Pool 2, and proposal 19 will remove oDAO seat Rocket Pool 3. These votes will start in 6 days' time. Obviously, if Langer started the votes yesterday, then they'll go through in 6 days' time. So that's the oDAO votes. And then there's the GMC vote that's upcoming as well, if you just want to remember what votes are happening. So yeah, this is actually really interesting. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it right now because we're going to be talking about the oDAO a little bit more later. But let's get on to an announcement that Langer's, well, not announcement, but some feedback that Langer's actually put out as well. And this was yesterday as well. So Langer's last week came into research and talked about how there was a new way that they could use MaxEB and use people getting over to mega pools that way. There were a few people who were giving, feedback, and one of the people who actually gave the strongest feedback against this initially was Patches, and it seems like Patches was able to convince other people as well about his position. So Langer's actually put out a post yesterday, and he says, I got quite excited about using consolidations to minimize churn, but I agree with much that has been said here. So he says, to summarize, using credit as a method to migrate everyone is not a great idea. It's unproductive ETH that will probably have to wait for deposits. He says, we may end up with churn because credit can be exited via our ETH. As Kane pointed out, this may lead to a massive discount on our ETH. He says the current process, though requires exit and re-entry, has the benefit of increasing our ETH yield with waiting deposits. He says, I doubt gas costs would be any lower for migration. He says there are a lot of things to work out around compounding validators, which could delay Saturn significantly. I'm confident we could work through it, but I wouldn't want to rush it. So it seems like people were quite happy with this feedback from Langer's, and it looks like that idea of using MaxEB to get people into mega pools is basically not going to happen, and instead we will go back to the previous system that we had envisaged, which was the exit and churn method, and that's what we're going to do. So and Saturn 1 then, what you have to do is exit all your validators and then come back in with the mega pools. So yeah, it should be interesting to see how that plays out. Okay, Val in governance today had a heads up about the CCIP bridge for Ronin, And he says, I learned that CCIP need an answer in the next few days, which isn't enough time for our normal governance procedure. He said, my suggestion is below, and I'll start to act on it now. Obviously, yell loudly if you hate it. So he says, from the forum poll, it looks like most people are in favor of a fee. He said, I'm going to do the flash poll about one day. We talked about for a fee amount here following this message and cross-post it aggressively for a day. And so we'll move forward with CCIP using the median value that comes out of that. It says there will then be a follow-up snapshot vote to either ratify the fees if it passes or remove the fees if it fails. He says, I'll rewrite the RPIP to reflect that. He says this means that there'll be a few days of the fee existing at a best guess level that hasn't gone through full governance, but I think it's the best available choice. And I agree with Val here. Sometimes, sadly, you need to move fast, and in moving fast, you can't follow the full governance procedure that you would want to. Sadly, we want to minimize those kind of events as much as possible, or mitigate them if they arrive, and it seems like that's what's happening here. So it says, what flat fee do you prefer when bridging to and from Ronin? $1, $2, $3, or $5? And it seems like most of the people who have answered so far have either said $2 or $3. I myself have said $3, and not many people have said well, actually, two people, Patches and Romana, said no, saying they don't want any fee. But then Patches also selected $1 just to give one of those amounts. And then a bunch of people selected $2 or $3, and only one person selected $5, and that was Spartan himself. So yeah, it looks like that's the way that's going to happen. Dr. Doofus then gave feedback saying this is a good strategy. Samus was trying to clarify what would the next steps would be, and he says, so the snapshot vote will be something like this: vote yes to a median fee from this poll, and then vote no to collecting fees. And Val gave Samus the thumbs up to that. So expect there to be action on this happening quite quickly in the coming days, and of course we'll keep you up to date with everything that is happening with that. Okay, so around 7 a.m. Eastern time this morning, the reward snapshot hadn't come through, and that was because not all of the oDAO members had submitted their reward trees. Here, Halulu was kind of keeping track of how many had come through. So he said it was 7 out of 9 and then 8 out of 9, and it was still at 8 out of 9. So Mad Matt said, who's not doing their job? And Halulu said half the oDAO. So this actually came up with an interesting discussion with Superfizz, who of course is an oDAO member. He says, I mean, the incentive is so paltry, it's not worth it for most companies to even put the time into it. He says, we developed cryptocurrency around economic incentives and then asked people to do things out of kindness. And Ramana replied by saying, we don't have any money. So Superfizz says that's fair, but then a zoom out is required. If Rocket Pool is looking for decentralized oDAO from prestigious providers but can't afford the service, should they get the service? And then Neverland Island says, got to replace the oDAO with people who build on top of Rocket Pool, so there's other incentives besides payments. Fizz says, I'd say there's value in keeping a closer eye on the oDAO who are consistently doing the job versus those who have given up. Bear in mind, it's expected for companies to cut staff and hours. If they can't maintain, that's okay, but we shouldn't depend on them. So this actually led to a really interesting discussion and really interesting back and forth about what the oDAO's duties are, how they should be fulfilling the duties. Ramana said that basically choosing the oDAO the way that we did, because of prestige and their name was because of the team, and they should have chosen the community, and that was the team decision. And Langer says the PDAO didn't exist at the time, and neither was there sufficient trusted individuals that could be given upgrade rights to the entire protocol. Employing companies with social leverage and bringing a fair amount of legitimacy was not a bad call at the time, in my opinion. And Fizz says, I think it was an excellent choice. It made perfect sense and was strategic. And then Ramana says, it's okay that not knowing, it's okay. It's fair that not knowing how strong, reliable a community there is would be that well-known names would be a reasonable way to go. And I know it's hard times for everyone with treasuries running low. I guess I still would have loved to see faster, more decisive action towards reducing oDAO size and duties, and or more proactively on bringing in community applicants, e.g. Pateris, while letting some of the bootstrap companies go. and then Fizz was basically talking back and forth. There was an interesting discussion that came up from here about the oDAO charter and how we need to monitor DAO members who are and aren't engaged, and who is actually taking part, not taking part. One of the things I was interested here was the list of oDAO members who actually submitted the rewards tree and those who didn't. So Nimbus did. I'll just read out the ones that did and then read out the ones that didn't. So Rocket Pool 2, Etherscan, Rocket Pool T, Fizz, Gitcoin, Bankless, Rocket Pool 1, Rocket Pool 3, and Rocket Scientist 1 were the oDAO seats that submitted the rewards tree. Nimbus, Coinbase, Beacon Chain, Consensus DeFi 5, FireEye, Lighthouse, and Anthony Sassano were the ones that didn't. Now, what's really one thing to notice here is that of these ones that submitted the rewards tree, Rocket Pool 2, Rocket Pool 3, and Gitcoin, 3 of the ones that did submit it, are going to be leaving the oDAO. So we need other members to step up. Yeah, that's as simple as that. Like, the consensus would get a bit smaller, but we would still need, some of these guys who are not performing up to scratch to step up their game and perform a bit better than they have been. Yeah. Okay, yesterday was actually a decent day for some of our node operators because there was some nice rewards that came in for block building. This person here got an 18.3 ETH reward. Of course, they'll have to divide that out with our ETH holders, but they're going to get a nice chunk of that. And then there was another one here as well where someone got a 15 ETH reward, which was of course nice as well. So there were a couple of nice rewards that were coming through. I guess that's just because of market conditions and how volatile things were yesterday. Things were moving really fast because of the tariff stuff and things that we talked about yesterday. But I guess in that time there were shorts getting liquidated and all that kind of stuff. So there were some nice blocks that came through. Sadly, not that many blocks have been coming to the smoothing pool. Yesterday the balance was actually 110 ETH, which was one of the smallest balances that I've seen in a long time. So yeah, that's not nice. Okay, moving on to some Ethereum news now. And the big news of the day for Ethereum is that the SEC approves options on spot Ethereum ETFs. And this was, there's this one here and this one as well. So why is it good to have options on spot ETFs? Well, this would actually, it becomes a way to people to earn yield on the ETH. They can write calls and puts, and people can buy those and they can keep the premium. If they work out for them, it's kind of risky to sell their options, but that's one thing that can do. Another thing that can do is really improve liquidity in the market, and people trading in and out of these positions. Some people think that criticism of these is that the price action gets dampened by having options, because people can short and long things depending on what the price action is doing, and that can inhibit volatility in the price action. So that's something to pay attention to. And other people have said that ETH is incredibly shorted right now, and that's partly because of the basis trade that's happening, where people short on spot and then long short on futures and long on spot. And there's a lot of shorting happening with ETH, and this might just exacerbate that. So yeah, there's good and bads, but the idea is that this is helping ETH become a more mature asset, and just having a lot more financial rails that go with it is a good thing. So yeah, that's interesting. And finally, I'm going to end today's episode with some other news. And this is Brantley from ENS making a post about Virgil Griffith. So he says Virgil was just released just this morning. He'll be in a halfway house for a few weeks and parole after that with work restrictions. So a pardon is still important, but he is out. So Virgil, for those of you who don't know, was, I think, an early ETH dev or contributor who actually flew to North Korea and taught North Korean people how to use Ethereum. And that was according to the US government. He says that this was not allowed. So here Brantley kind of explains. He says, if you don't know who this is, Virgil is an ETH OG who did lots of important work early at the Ethereum Foundation and at ENS, gave a presentation called Blockchain for Peace in North Korea, and had the US government come after him, was never convicted of anything because they're threatened with so much time that he took a plea deal. And then Brantley said, to be clear, this photo is with him, with his parents, just outside the prison this morning after he was let out. And he says when he was first arrested back in fall of 2019, ETH price was around $180. So if he had ETH sat in the wallet at that time, it was a pretty good hold for him, like nearly a 10x. Sadly, at certain times it was worth a lot more than that, but yeah, hopefully we'll get back to those higher valuations soon. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to end today's episode. So, I'm happy for Virgil getting out. Yeah, thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I hope you all have a lovely day ahead, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.